And finally, the 27th edition of the Jeonju International Film Festival in South Korea ends tomorrow. And to tell us about it, I'm joined by Nemo Kim, who's a journalist for Billboard and Sight and Sound, amongst other publications, just back from Jeonju in the capital and now in the capital, Seoul. Nemo Kim, thank you very much for joining us here. Won't you give us a festival overview?
Hi, Georgina. Jeonju is one of Korea's major film festivals, and as you said, it's now in its 27th year, opening last Wednesday, closing this coming Friday. And a total of 237 films from 54 countries are being screened. Some major names in attendance, including actor Greta Lee, who came with Kent Jones for Late Fame, the opening title. Renowned Taiwanese director Tsai Ming-liang held a masterclass to a packed auditorium, and Hayden Guest of the Harvard Film Archive gave a lecture to an equally fascinated audience. And the closing title is The Longest Night, Nam Tae-ryong by Kim Hyun-ji, which documents the aftermath of Korea's martial law crisis of 2024. And the festival's long prided itself on championing indie cinema, awarding Korean and international indie films, and hosting scores of director talks and sidebar events, both for seriously minded cinephiles and fun stuff like creating your own art piece by combining photos of your favorite Jeonju films. And unlike the more prestigious Busan Film Festival, Jeonju's known for being more intimate and friendly. And last weekend was the peak of the event, with the main Geksa area packed with visitors.
Well, friendly it might be, but it's not without controversy. There was a controversy last year, and that spilled on into this year too.
That's right. An incident from last year has continued to trouble many here. A documentary called In the Land of Machines screened as the closing film, but became the center of a credit dispute. The original director's name was removed from the credits after a conflict with its producer, who's a much more senior figure. Her name appeared instead as director. The dispute is ongoing, with the original director holding protests outside screenings. And what made this especially more troubling was Jeonju's handling of the issue. The festival didn't contact the original director to hear his side of the story. Instead, they relied only on the producer's account. And the slot of the closing film, as you can imagine, is a highly visible one that gave the producer's version of events additional weight. And the situation was made more troubling by the fact that the documentary began as a Jeonju project, meaning the festival was well aware of the original director's role. A Jeonju programmer did tell me they'd examine such situations much more carefully from this year on, and that is a welcome acknowledgement.
And there are also questions over institutional culture.
That's right. Some attendees raised concerns this year about what they described as an extreme level of alcohol-heavy social culture around parts of the festival. Of course, socializing is very much part of film festivals. Informal gatherings often help build relationships beyond official events, but it can become problematic when the drinking is described as extreme, repeated throughout the event period, and seen to be encouraged by parts of the festival leadership. And the accounts raise an important question, not of moralizing or optics, but about how a festival that depends on the labor of hundreds of young staff and volunteers maintains professional boundaries and sound judgment throughout the event period. And several industry figures told me that given Jeonju Film Festival's long-standing role in nurturing indie cinema, its future strength should ideally rest less on informal early morning access to senior figures and more on transparent processes and equal opportunity for the indie filmmakers whose work it has long helped to bring to attention.
And just before you go, you're back in Seoul now, but you did spend a considerable time there in Jeonju. What are your personal highlights?
My personal highlight was the screening of the 60s Hong Kong art house masterpiece called The Arch in English. If you have not seen it, it is kind of difficult to catch it, but if you're able to catch it, go for it. It was the best film, I think, of this year so far for me.
Excellent. Nemo Kim, a journalist based in Seoul. Thank you very much for joining us. And that's all for today's programme. Thanks to our producers, Chris Chermak, Tom Webb and Hassan Anderson, our researcher, Josephina Gomez, and our studio manager, Elliot Greenfield. Now, after the headlines, there's more music on the way, and the briefing is live